Let's start with a scene so common, it's basically the new American national anthem. You're cruising down the highway, minding your own business, probably listening to a podcast about how the world is ending, and then, out of nowhere, you get stuck behind it. A rolling, thundering monument to terrible life choices. I'm talking about a brand new heavy-duty pickup truck so shiny it looks like it was forged in the fires of a midlife crisis. It's got chrome on the mirrors, chrome on the bumper, and chrome on things that definitely don't need to be shiny. It's so expensive it should honestly come with a complimentary financial advisor crying in the glove compartment. The leather seats inside probably cost more than your annual healthcare deductible, and the engine has enough torque to pull a small moon out of orbit, even though the closest this thing will ever get to off-roading is accidentally clipping a curb at a Starbucks drive-thru. And here's the absolute punchline that nobody wants to say out loud while they're staring at that massive tailgate. The person driving that beast isn't rich. They aren't a secret oil tycoon or a tech genius. No, they are a regular person with a regular paycheck and an absolutely elite-level commitment to pretending that basic mathematics are just a suggestion. Welcome to the modern miracle of the American economy, where we've somehow convinced ourselves that a $900 a month car payment is just a standard cost of living. It's fascinating, really. If you saw someone set fire to a pile of $100 bills every single month, you'd call for a psychological intervention. But if they do it through a bank transfer to a car dealership, well, then they're just hardworking Americans who deserve a nice ride. But let's look at the numbers, because on paper, this shouldn't work. It's like watching someone try to fit a square peg into a round hole by using a sledgehammer made of high-interest debt. The income isn't there, the savings aren't there, the logic collapses faster than a house of cards in a hurricane. And yet, millions of people walk into those glass-walled showrooms every single month, breathe in that toxic new car smell, which is actually just the scent of evaporating net worth, and sign their names on the dotted line like they've just unlocked a cheat code to reality. Spoiler alert, they didn't. What they actually found is a perfectly engineered system designed to make financial suicide feel like a luxury lifestyle upgrade. It's a trap so beautiful that people will actually argue with you to defend it. Before we dismantle this madness apart piece by piece, you need to understand the sheer scale of the insanity we're dealing with here. The average car payment in America didn't just creep up over time. It didn't politely ask for permission. It launched itself into a territory that, just a decade ago, would have gotten you laughed out of a bank and possibly put on a watch list for the financially insane. We are now living in a world where the average monthly payment for a normal car has crossed the $700 mark. $700. For a regular car. Not a spaceship, not a gold-plated chariot, just a box on wheels that spends 90% of its life parked in a driveway, losing value while you sleep. And if you wander into the truck and SUV section, the holy land of oversized egos and under-discussed debt, you're looking at $900, $200, or even $1,500 every single month, for up to 8 years. Take a second to let that sink in. 8 years. That's not a car purchase, that's a subscription to regret. That's a second mortgage on an asset that is actively rotting the moment you drive it off the lot. If you do the math like a functional adult for just 2 seconds, you'll realize that's over $80,000 paid out over the life of the loan. $80,000 for something that will be worth the price of a used lawnmower by the time you actually own the title. You aren't buying an asset. You're financing a disappearing act, and you're applauding while your money vanishes. Now, this is where the financial geniuses on the highway try to defend this mess. They'll tell you, well, maybe people are making more money now. Wages are up. That's adorable. Really, it's a sweet thought, but it's a lie. Incomes didn't go up, not in any way that justifies this level of carnage. Wages moved like a tired, depressed employee on a Monday morning, while car prices moved like they were on a 3-day bender of performance-enhancing drugs. The gap between what people earn and what they want grew so wide that the only way to fill it was with a very polite, very professional form of a scam. And the first trick the system used? They decided to stretch time until your brain physically forgets how long a year actually is. So, you've signed the papers. You've traded your future for a vehicle that has more computing power than the Apollo 11 and a monthly payment that feels like a punch to the solar plexus. But hey, you're managing, right? You're breathing in that fresh synthetic leather scent, convinced that you've outsmarted the laws of economics. Well, welcome to the second act of the play, which I like to call the slow bleed. While you're out there revving your engine at red lights to impress teenagers and people who hate you, something invisible is happening. Your truck is losing value. And it's not just a little dip. It's an aggressive, catastrophic dive into the dumpster. By the time you've finished your first year of payments, that $60,000 fortress is worth $45,000. But thanks to your glorious 84-month loan, you still owe $58,000. Congratulations. You have officially entered the dead zone. In the industry, they call it negative equity. It sounds fancy, like a boutique hedge fund strategy, but in reality, it just means you're underwater. You're a financial scuba diver with no oxygen tank. You owe more than the car is worth, which means you're now legally and financially married to this piece of metal. You can't sell it, you can't trade it, and you can't crash it without a major insurance headache. You are trapped in a high-speed relationship with a liability that hates you. But don't worry, the system has a solution for that too. And this is where the genius of the dealership truly shines. They don't want you to panic. They want you to keep dancing. Enter the trade-in cycle, the ultimate hamster wheel for the financially illiterate. A few years go by. The new car smell has been replaced by the smell of stale fries and regret. A newer, shinier model comes out with a slightly bigger touchscreen and a grille that looks even more like a Decepticon's face. You want it, you need it. It's your identity, remember? But you still owe $30,000 on a truck that's only worth $20,000. In a sane world, you'd stay in your current car and cry yourself to sleep. But in the magical world of modern financing, the salesman just smiles. No problem, buddy. We'll just roll that $10,000 of debt into the new loan. It sounds so painless. It's like magic. Except it's the kind of magic where the magician steals your wallet and kicks you in the shins. You're now paying for a truck you don't even own anymore, while financing a new truck at an even higher price, over an even longer term. You're stacking debt on top of debt like a game of financial Tetris, where the only way to lose is to keep playing. And the dealers? They love this. They don't just want to sell you a car. They want to harvest your paycheck for the rest of your natural life. They've turned you into a recurring revenue stream. You're not a customer. You're a subscriber to debt. You've been domesticated. You're a financial pet that wears a chrome collar. But why do we do it? Is it because we're all collectively suffering from a rare brain parasite that makes us hate money? No. It's because of the normalization of insanity. If you told your friends you were spending $1,200 a month on premium handcrafted birdseed, they'd stage an intervention. They'd call a therapist. They'd wonder when you lost your grip on reality. But if you tell them you're spending $1,200 a month on a truck payment, they just nod and ask if it has the off-road package. We've been conditioned to believe that reliable transportation requires a monthly payment equivalent to a mortgage in the Midwest. It's a collective hallucination. The automotive industry has spent billions of dollars on marketing to ensure that you associate your self-worth with the size of your vehicle's displacement. They aren't selling you a way to get to work. They are selling you a way to feel like a winner while you're stuck in traffic on the way to a job you hate to pay for the truck you're sitting in. It's a perfect loop of misery. And the best part? You'll defend it to the death. Because admitting you got scammed by a guy in a cheap suit named Brad is a lot harder than just making another payment and pretending everything is fine. So you've convinced yourself that the monthly payment is manageable. You've done the mental gymnastics, you've ignored the screaming voice of your bank account, and you've embraced your new life as a debt slave. But here is the thing about the system. It's never satisfied. It doesn't just want your arm, it wants the whole torso. Once the honeymoon phase of the first 3 weeks wears off, right around the time you realize that new car smell was actually just the scent of your future retirement evaporating, reality starts sending the secondary invoices. First, let's talk about insurance. You didn't just buy a truck, you bought a high-stakes liability that the insurance companies view as a rolling target. You aren't insuring a $20,000 sedan. You're insuring a $70,000 ego booster filled with sensors, cameras, and smart technology that breaks if a bird looks at it too hard. Your premium isn't a bill, it's a second, smaller car payment that arrives every month just to remind you that you're one distracted teenager away from financial ruin. And then there's the fuel. You bought a vehicle built for conquering mountains, but you spend 99% of your time conquering the drive-through lane at Taco Bell. You're getting 15 miles to the gallon on a good day, which means you're essentially paying a stupidity tax every time you pull up to the pump. You watch the numbers on the gas station screen spin faster than your own heart rate, realizing that you're spending $400 a month just to move 3 tons of metal and one insecure human from point A to point B. But the real chef's kiss of this disaster is how you, the consumer, react to this pressure. You don't sell the truck. Oh no. That would mean admitting you're a moron. Instead, you restructure your entire existence to protect the truck. I've seen it. You've seen it. It's a bizarre form of automotive Stockholm Syndrome. People will move into smaller, shittier apartments just so they can have a garage for their $200 a month master. They'll eat ramen noodles for dinner, skip their sister's wedding, and cancel their health insurance, all to make sure the truck payment clears on the first of the month. You're literally prioritizing a piece of depreciating machinery over your own biological survival. And don't even get me started on the maintenance. Modern trucks aren't mechanical anymore. They're rolling software experiments. When a light on the dashboard flickers, you don't go to a mechanic. You go to a financial executioner. A simple brake job costs $1,000. A transmission hiccup costs $5,000. And because you have zero savings, Because all your cash is tied up in the Church of Chrome, you put those repairs on a high-interest credit card. Now, you're paying interest on a loan for a repair on a vehicle that you're already paying interest on. It's debtception. It's layers of financial failure stacked on top of each other like a disgusting lasagna of bad choices. This is where the system has you exactly where it wants you, domesticated. You aren't a free citizen anymore. You're an operator of an expensive asset you don't own, working a job you hate, to pay for fuel you can't afford, to drive to a bank, to pay for the privilege of doing it all again tomorrow. You're not winning. You're just a very efficient middleman between your employer's payroll department and the dealership's bank account. You're a biological pass-through entity. And the worst part? You'll park that truck in the driveway tonight, look back at it, and think, yeah, I've made it. Nobody. You haven't made it. You've been had. Now we get to the part where the illusion finally hits a brick wall made of actual reality. Up until now, we've been talking about feelings, status, and how much you enjoy the smell of fake leather. But numbers don't have feelings. Numbers don't care about your brand loyalty. Numbers are cold-blooded killers, and they're about to execute your bank account. Let's run the real math on your manageable decision. Let's say you buy a $55,000 truck. In today's world, that's not even the top-tier model. That's just the entry-level ticket to the I'm an Alpha Male Club. You finance it over 7 years because you're a monthly payment warrior. The dealership gives you a little pat on the head, a 6% interest rate, and a monthly bill of $800. $800? I can do that, you tell yourself as you sign away your soul. But let's look at the 7-year total. By the time that loan is finished, you haven't paid $55,000. You've paid over $67,000 just for the loan itself. Now let's add the hidden killers. Insurance at $250 a month, that's another $21,000. Fuel at a conservative $350 a month, toss in another $29,000. Maintenance, tires, and those software updates that cost as much as a kidney, at least $15,000. When you stack it all up, you didn't buy a $55,000 truck. You spent over $132,000. $132,000 on a box of metal. And at the end of those 7 years, after all that sacrifice, all those hours worked, and all those missed vacations, what do you actually own? You own a depreciated, rattling piece of scrap metal worth maybe $15,000 on a good day if the wind is blowing the right way. You literally paid $117,000 for the privilege of driving a truck. That's not a financial decision. That's a controlled burn of your own life force. But here is the real kick in the teeth. If you had taken that same $800 a month and dumped it into a boring index fund, something with no chrome, no heated seats, and no ego, after 7 years, you'd be sitting on over $70,000 in actual wealth. Instead, you're sitting in a truck that smells like old gym socks and has a transmission that sounds like a blender full of marbles. One path builds freedom, the other builds a cage, but you chose the cage because the bars were shiny, and that's the real tragedy of the modern consumer. You aren't buying transportation, you're selling your future flexibility. You're trading the ability to quit a job you hate, the ability to start a business, or the ability to retire early, just so you can look successful to people you'll never meet while sitting at a red light. So, I learned something today. I learned that we live in a world that has perfected the art of monetizing your insecurity. We've built a system that rewards you for being a financial slave and punishes you for being rational. We've turned the American dream into a long-term debt contract with four-wheel drive. The next time you're on the highway and you see one of those $80,000 monuments to bad decisions, don't feel inferior. Don't wish you were in that driver's seat. Just look at the chrome, look at the polished wheels, and remember, what you're looking at isn't wealth. It's pressure. It's a guy eating cereal for dinner so he can afford the insurance on a truck that's currently drowning him. And maybe, just maybe, that boring, paid-off car in your driveway, the one that doesn't turn any heads, is the biggest flex of all. Because while that guy is working for his truck, your money is finally starting to work for you. Or, just keep buying the trucks. The dealerships have kids to send to college, too. They're counting on you to be exactly as dumb as they think you are. Welcome to the loop. Good luck getting out.